Women who have or are waiting until their 30s to have children, how has this benefited you? The biggest thing is that we have financial resources that we simply did not have in our 20s. That takes a huge burden off your shoulders. We aren't millionaires or anything, but we make enough money to be very comfortable and not have to worry about finances. That alone made it worth waiting. And in general, I feel like I am in a much more secure, stable place mentally/emotionally. I have always wanted kids, but I was absolutely not ready to have kids until about 28 or so. I also feel like I've done all the things I've wanted to/lived the kind of life I wanted to live since kids, so once my 30s got here it felt like the right time because everything was in place. I'm 28 and if I have kids, which remains to be seen, it'll likely be in my 30s. My mom had her 2 kids at 36 and 39, because she cared way more about her career prior to that, and that's basically how I feel too. Plus, being a millennial freelancer living in late-stage capitalism, I don't make enough money to support myself some months, let alone a kid. I had all 3 of my kids in my 30s, with the last one born a few months before I turned 40. We were more stable and settled in our 30s. We were financially stable, more mature, and we bought a house with the intention to live in it long term. We traveled and lived pretty carefree in our 20s. I guess you could say that we got it out of our systems. LOL. I was 38 when our daughter was born. I would have liked to get started at 33 or 34, but hadn't met my husband. I was also married at 36. I had a lot of fun and adventures, travel, boyfriends, ups and downs. Got the crazy fun out of my system. I am very glad I waited until my 30s. More stability in every aspect of life. Being a mom is the best experience of my life. 2 main positives. The first is being financially better off and by extension of that being able to move into our forever house in an ideal area before kids started school. The other is being more mature and level-headed in general and just having life experience to draw on. I know everyone in their early 20s will say I'm more mature than a lot of 30-year-olds. That may be true, so was I, but trust me, you still can change and grow a lot over the next 10 years. Having said that, in terms of baby making, 31 is a lot different from 39 energy and health-wise. Based on my own experience of having babies, I'd say 26 to 33 a good age to start if you want to have more than one. If you're only having one, you can wait a bit longer. We adopted at 34. While a part of me does worry a little about being an older mom, I have no real regrets. My husband and I both finished graduate degrees, are established in our careers, and have done quite a bit of traveling. Money of course isn't everything, but it certainly helps when trying to raise a kid and give them a good start in life. We wouldn't have had the same resources 10 years ago. Made me realize I actively didn't want them. I had a baby with the right man. I waited long enough to realize I didn't want children in the first place. I wanted what I thought I should want based on societal expectations. Waiting to have kids allowed me the time to really get to know myself better, to know that that's not the path for me. Echoing a lot of the moms here. I had my boy at 34. My husband and I met in our 30s, another benefit. We both have stable jobs and are probably in the upper middle class bracket now. Even with our dual income, we're basically living off one income, so we have the resources to support any extracurriculars he may be interested in, as well as to, hopefully, comfortably save for college. The biggest benefits of waiting are professional and financial stability. I'm not old enough to have kids, but I think if I ever have them it definitely won't be before 30. There's just too much to do and see in the world to have a child strapped to you for 18 years. I will be 30 in June, which feels insane to me, and I try not to think about it. Societal pressures mainly. My husband is dying to have kids and I told him after I turned 30. I want kids, but I just wanted it to be ahead of me and now the time is catching up. I thought I'd be more baby crazy by now, but the thought of my body, my free time and disposable income all changing is very scary to me. Any suggestions? I had my first at 30, second, and final at 33. I'm so glad I had my 20s to be carefree and spontaneous and adventurous, as well as get 2 degrees under my belt in a stable financial situation, husband, and a house. At no point in my 20s would I have been a great mother. Now, I'm not a great mother now, either, but I feel like I just have my shit so much more together now. I'm calmer, kinder, less self-centered, and I finally conquered my low-grade but long-term eating disorder, which is especially important to me now as a mom of 2 girls. 5-star rating for waiting. I didn't wait. I thought I didn't want kids and then changed my mind at 34. Now I'm 36 and my husband and I have been trying for 2 years. Even though I'm better prepared emotionally and financially, physically I am not faring well for getting pregnant because I'm older. But that doesn't mean it won't happen. I'm 34 and haven't had kids yet. We will probably start trying in about a year. The biggest thing for me is that if I had had kids in my 20s, they would have been with my ex. I had completely bought into the whole you need to have kids before you're 30 thing, but I ended up splitting with my ex shortly after my 30th birthday, in large part because I would look at how uneven our contributions to the running of our household were and despair at the thought of becoming a stereotypical second-shift mom who had to clean up after kids and a husband. Because I had gotten with my ex, who, in addition to being a lazy slob, was also boring. So young, after we split up I was finally able to run around and have fun being single for a while, traveling, partying, trying new sports, making new friends. I met my now fiancé, realized that this was the person for me, and get to enjoy watching him being a consummate cat dad and ultimate funkle and know for certain that he's going to be an amazing CO parent. I'm 31, and still not there yet. We're waiting until we buy our own place, which should happen soon. I met my husband at 28, before that I never dated anyone seriously enough to consider having kids with them. Wouldn't be able to afford it anyway. I got all my partying out of my system and genuinely enjoy quiet nights at home. All of my friends have waited to have kids until now too, and I was the first at 31. I focused on school and got my master's degree and had time to make enough money that my husband and I can put money monthly into a 529 and we have a Christmas and vacation fund. I definitely wouldn't have been able to do that in my 20s. Cons: it took a long time to get my body back. I had been chubby for 5 or 6 years before, but when I stopped breastfeeding, I gained about 20 pounds. I started intermittent fasting in November 2019 and have lost 60 pounds and am now in the best shape I've been in 10 years. Everyone I know who had kids in their early to mid-20s bounced back immediately. I'm also so tired in my 30s. Coffee helps, but when I do enjoy a night out with my friends and drink, it takes days to feel better. I decided I would wait until my 30s to try having for children, and now that I'm here, it's given me the time and space to realize I would not be a good parent. I'm fantastic with my nieces and nephews, but that's because I get to hand them back to their parents and walk away. My partner also realized that he didn't want children, either. He's happy with our child-free lifestyle and has also come to terms with the fact that he would not be a good father to any children. While this means we will not have anyone to continue our legacy, the benefits are clear to our bank accounts and our stress levels. Trying to be a parent, when you're not fit to be one, is just hell on your mental health. And another benefit is that we get to be more fantastic with our nieces and nephews. We get to spoil them a bit more and be more invested/involved in their lives than we would if we had our own children. Honestly, I'm only waiting because I don't have the home/income to be accepted to adopt. I haven't felt any benefit, since I'm still struggling to get to a point where I can confidently apply. I'm getting married in my mid-20s, but my partner and I don't plan to have kids until we're at least 30, and here's why. Finances: by 30 we will have our student loans paid off, be further in our careers, have more savings, have a house in the area we want, and have more surplus cash to spend on children who are expensive. Maturity: we'll be that much older and wiser. Plus we'll have had my chance to do things like traveling to non-child-friendly places, dedicating ourselves fully to my hobbies, and just do what we want 24/7 instead of what our kids wants. Stability in our relationship: by then we'll have been together almost 10 years, so we know each other completely and know how to work well together as a team better than if we had kids now. When I got married, in my 20s, I didn't think I wanted kids at all. That gradually changed as I got older, although I never felt 100% sure. By time I was in my early 30s, I felt that it was more likely I would regret not having kids than vice versa. Now I'm 36 with 2 kids, and I'm so happy I decided to have them. I'm much physically and psychologically healthier now than I was in my 20s as well, so it's good I didn't get pregnant earlier. The biggest gift in waiting until my 30s to have kids has definitely been that my taste in men massively improved as I moved through my 20s. I think of the losers I would have procreated with at 21 and shudder. I'm turning 32 next week and I'm pregnant with my first. The love, security, stability, and support I feel from my husband, started dating when we were 27, during this time has been the best gift. To be honest, I thought I never wanted kids until we settled into our relationship. Having been loved by him, I know that it will be the best thing watching him love our kid. It wasn't necessarily by choice that I had mine in my early 30s. We struggled with infertility for years. And, the way things worked out, we started IVF when I was 31 and my eldest was born when I was 32. My twins this year when I was 34. By virtue of having to wait, we earned money, enough to pay for IVF. We've moved several times for my career. We had fun as a couple, just us, for several years. That foundation has been so important through early parenthood. My only gripe: recovery is hard. My first pregnancy, I was back at it in about a month. This time, I'm 7 months out and have yet to hit my stride again. I don't know if being younger would have helped much, but I like to think it might have. And maybe lack of sleep. That one is harder to tolerate now than even 5 years ago. Sleep in babies and toddlers can sometimes be oil and water. I'm 33 and will be giving birth to my first child in a couple months. For me, it wasn't necessarily about waiting for my 30s or even being more financially or career stable, since I already had all that by mid-20s. I was waiting for the right man to have children with. I'd rather never have children than have them with the wrong person. I spent my 20s dating guys who ultimately weren't right for me, then met the one who was. Pregnant now in my early/mid-30s. There was no way I could have done this earlier, financially speaking. I'm 32 and due with my first in a couple of weeks. I met my husband in my early 20s and we had time to travel, build our careers and grow together as a couple before getting married and buying a house over the past 2 years. We both finished our degrees and went on to be awarded fellowships with our respective professional bodies. I'm in the UK, this may mean something different in the US. So we don't have any more tough exams to sit. Whilst part of me wishes we'd started a few years earlier, as I worry about a further pregnancy later in my 30s, we're financially stable and in a much better place to raise a child than in our late 20s. I'm pregnant with my first at 31 and due in a few months. I got married on the early side, 24, husband 22, and our relationship would not have survived having kids early. We went through a lot and honestly it only has been good enough for kids in the past 2 years, I'd say. Waiting allowed us both to make our mistakes and work on self-growth, and our relationship right now is something we treasure. I know without a doubt that the couple we are today is going to rock the parenthood journey because we are a real team now. I think every couple needs to honestly decide for themselves when they are ready, and I know several couples who had kids in their early mid-20s and are doing great. For me, it helps me to deal with my own personal issues first. I have issues that are rooted from my relationship with my mom. We are okay, but when I was in college and taking up my psychology class, I realized that most of my insecurities and personal issues are because of my mom's parenting style, which is toxic to some degree. I can't blame her though, because she also has her own issues to deal with and never got the help to improve them. It's my dream to be a good mom to my future kids, someone they won't hate. I'm still childless though. My husband and I just got married early this year and still not ready to have kids due to our financial situation, plus considering the COVID situation. Had children when was 34 and 39. I didn't marry my husband until I turned 30. We were both grad students when SE started dating and both had full-time jobs when we got married. It was nice to have the time and money to travel and do stuff together pre-children. Being in our 30s allowed us to be more financially secure, though to be honest, my husband was unemployed when I got pregnant with the second child. It has all worked out in the end though. Firstly, it saved me from having to deal with my ex-husband for 18 years. Secondly, I am far more established, stable, and mature. I feel ready where before I always felt like ugh, yet I guess this is something I will eventually do. I had my first at 36, almost 37, and my second and third at 38, almost 39. Man, I loved the wildness of my 20s and early 30s. I wouldn't have given that up for anything. Side note, I tried having kids around 33 but infertility reared its ugly head. Took some time and eventually it happened. Well, financial stability is certainly a very good thing to have before bringing a baby into the picture. And it's not even for the parents' benefit, is for the benefit of the child or the family as a whole. Don't know if I'll ever have kids. But in my 30s and have had a great life so far, traveled the world, got a doctorate, made tons of friends, cared for sick family. I have loved my life and thankful I've gotten to live it, smiley face. I'm 25 now and have made it know that I'd like to wait until at least I'm 30, or even 35, before having a kid. So far it's allowed me so much financial and personal freedom. And it's allowing me time to grow into myself as a person after suffering a lot of abuse at the hands of my mother. I'm in a better place now and giving myself the chance to really establish my own identity before giving it over to motherhood is very liberating. 34 now, about to hit that 35 mark. I was pretty adamant that I wouldn't have kids for as long as I recall, but I hit my 20s and thought, maybe it'll change. And now, here in my 30s, I've made a career jump, bought a home, traveled extensively, and my ovaries still agree with young me. It isn't going to happen. Truthfully, I admire many parents for making that step, but I know myself well enough to know that I wouldn't make a good mother. My value of independence is almost obsessive, and I'd hate to burden a life with that. At 26 I dated a man who had 2 kids. It was exhausting. Most of the time it was not fun. When that relationship ended and I took time to get to know me, I realized how wonderful it is that I'll be older when I become a mom. That I have time to learn even more about childhood development, I have a degree in early childhood ed, and figure out how I want to parent. With every passing year I feel more confident and calm and rational. When I think of who I was in my early mid-20s, I can't imagine having raised a child. I've always wanted to be a mom, and if I were to get pregnant now, almost 29 in a great relationship. It wouldn't be a bad thing, but I'm excited to enjoy life with my partner and on my own and feel fully satisfied before adding another human or two to the mix. Long story short, time to learn and grow and be a calm, confident mama to my future babies. It's a huge relief to know that so many women can still get pregnant in their mid to late 30s. I'm 28 and getting anxiety over if I'll ever be able to kids of my own. I've always wanted children. I'm not financially stable yet, and by the time I hit 30, I will be a practicing attorney for 2 years. Also, I don't obsess about it. I'm not even married yet. If either happens then great, and if not then life moves on. I had my child with the right guy. If I had got pregnant with any previous boyfriend, oh, what a fucking mistake that would have been. 30, I just spoke about this to my partner last night. Despite all of our money problems and personal problems, at the very least we don't have a child that is getting dragged through this very hard time with us. Our relationship isn't the healthiest, and even though we both work constantly, we honestly feel broke. It's a frustrating situation that doesn't bring out the best in either of us, and I'm grateful that we aren't inflicting that on a child. Time to build a career, buy a house, gain financial stability, emotionally mature, and build a strong relationship with my current partner. Kids take time, money, and resources to raise. I am so thankful to not have children right now. I want to take my time turning onto someone actually capable of being a good mom. I'm 35 and pregnant with my first, and probably only. I'm glad I waited because I feel 100% ready for this, and my life is at a point where I'm settled, stable and financially ready. I've had more than enough me time and free time, and so I'm ready to embrace devoting myself and my time to being a mom. I had 2 kids in my early 30s and it was perfect for me. I got to enjoy my 20s, have a career, party, travel, and change and define myself a bit. In my early 30s, I was still young enough to be adaptable and have energy, but old enough to have had some individual life experience and some career/financial security. I'm in my mid-40s now and I feel too tired for infants and like I would be too set in my ways now to be truly adaptable enough for young children and the redefining that happens when you begin a family. Having kids in my early 30s also means that I'll be done raising kids in my mid-50s, leaving me a good number of active years left before retirement and old age set in. Certainly, what's best all depends on you, but early 30s is a real sweet spot to begin a family. I'm 26 and I'm getting my PhD. I'll earn my PhD candidacy, meaning I'll be done with all but my dissertation, in May. My husband and I haven't gotten to enjoy our youth because we were pursuing careers. We want to wait to have kids until both of our student loans are paid off, well be 30. Not sure if it counts, but I'm 31 and I haven't had kids yet. I am currently dating someone who I plan on marrying, and feel like I drop not so subtle hints from time to time. I told him I definitely want to have kids no later than by 35. I feel like I am not necessarily ready, but I definitely want kids. I am glad that my baby fever hasn't been too intense, but feel like it will intensify in a year or two. I'm waiting until 33 to 34 with my partner. Currently 28. We've gamed out more money, more time to buy a house and have fun together / know each other best that we possibly can first. I get to finish grad school and get a significant pay bump, he gets to advance in his career similarly. We live in a HCOL area and want to be on great footing, even though my family is nearby. I can't speak to people who have done it, but I know it's the right choice for us. I'm in my 30s and having my first kid. I was nowhere near emotionally ready before about 30. I also have a stable job, as does my partner, whereas previously I was a long-term grad student. Got my first at 35 and am not regretting it. I got the chance to grow up and know who I am, which makes raising kids easier. Have two very happy and healthy boys. My only regret is not meeting my husband sooner. I was 32 and 34 when I had my sons. I was more mature and more patient. I also had traveled and enjoyed my 20s. Now I'm in my 50s and my son are adults. I love being young enough to relate to them and enjoy their company. I don't think I would have been as good a mom in my 20s. Had my first at 33 and second at 35. I felt more financially secure, and this left me more freedom and flexibility to be with my girls. It's as simple as that. Felt more established in my career too, and that a break would be welcome, not a hindrance. Lastly, I truly appreciate every moment with my kids because by then, I had waited my whole life to have them. I'm almost 20 and I already know I don't want to have kids until my 30s. The reason is that I want to go to medical school, and with that, I won't be fully settled into my career until I'm 29 at the absolute earliest, could easily be much later. I want to be able to focus on my studies and training within worrying about having the time or money to raise a child. I know people have had kids in med school or residency, but I would rather not. I had twins at the age of 34, my husband was 45. The benefits were the usual: more money, more time, more patience, better perspective. I think that I personally wouldn't have been emotionally ready to have kids before that, and I think that in general, it's better to wait until your late 20s if possible for the practical reasons listed. Well, I'm 28 and my fiancé and I would like to have kids in the next couple of years once we're in our early 30s. The key benefits I see are related to stability and finances. We spent our early 20s building our careers, renting and moving around, and just really figuring out the foundations for later life. We bought a house, we're getting married in 2022, and then I'll think we'll be in a good position to have kids. I'm a much better mother than I would have been in my teens or 20s. I was able to not only get financially ready, but also mentally, physically, and emotionally working through old childhood trauma was key. I was able to find a stable partner that was also better prepared. I'm more patient. I have a better idea of who I am and what type of parent I want to be. I'm waiting till like 34/35ish to maybe have a kid or two because I'm graduating college at 30 and I want to get my shit together career-wise before trying it all. I think 4 to 5 years a decent amount of time to solidify some kind of career. I'm 24. If I want to have children, I want to wait until my 30s. I really want to know who I am as a person first, and that includes being single. I don't want my children to feel like an inconvenience or something I regret. I want to be sure that I really want to be a mother. I was close. I was 29 when I had my first, 31 when I had my second. I definitely don't think I was mature enough to handle motherhood earlier in my life. There's also the financial aspect. We are by no means super comfortable now, but we're leaps and bounds ahead of where we were 5 years ago. I also feel like I kind of got all the craziness out of my system when I was younger. I'm certainly not judging anyone else who still wants to go out drinking at my age with kids at home, but man, I just don't want to do that anymore. It's beneficial to me to know that about myself. Haven't settled to do so. Mental health is a buy and I don't have a career to even take care of myself. I still have 2 years till 30, but I would rather have kids between 30 to 35. I do not want to have teen kids while being too old, but only time will tell. Pregnant now and due in February. I'm 32 and I'm so glad we waited until our early 30s. Not only did waiting give us more time to live and explore and be married adults with careers and hobbies and other meaningful activities, waiting gave us time to grow as people who will be great parents. I felt so mature at 18, and then 21, and then 25, and now I look back on who I was even a few years ago and I have grown so much. I'm happy to be able to parent as 32-year-old me rather than 25-year-old me. Our brains don't fully develop until we are 25ish anyway. And the breadth of experiences I have had will make me a much better parent with a lot to teach and show and do with my kid. I think early 30s is a great time to have kids. I can actually afford them if/when the time comes. I am married to the love of my life and I am completely confident that I am in a place where I can be the kind of mother that I want to be and give my child the kind of life I want to give them. If I had decided that I needed to start having children at 25, I would be writing this as a divorced or single mom who is probably a lot more angry and anxious, and my child would be worst off for it. It has benefited me by having a stable career, car, home, and dog. It has hindered me by not being able to physically keep up with him like someone 5 years younger than me. Also, losing the baby weight took me 2.5 years. I'm 26 now. I really want to have kids in my early mid-30s. I am in no rush to have kids. I want to go out and still have my fun, but I can't because pandemic. I have recently been looking at pictures of my and my friends last December. We were so carefree and having fun. How everything has changed. I feel like the pandemic has accelerated my desire to settle down since I can't go do the fun things I want to. It would be so nice to have someone to share all the downtime with and for them to always be there. I also want to find someone to start settling down with though pretty soon, so we have a 3 to 5 years together before kids. That part stresses me out. I don't want to rush into having kids with someone I only know for a year or two because of the biological clock. I was able to live out my fun party college days of being selfish and coming and going as I pleased. I don't feel like I missed on those anything in those years of my early 20s. I was able to take my time in choosing the right partner. I cannot imagine being in a marriage and especially going through raising kids with anyone that I've dated in my past except for my husband. I chose someone who is honest, caring, kind and wants the same things in life as I do. We genuinely like spending time together, which is so important for years later and your empty nesters. My husband waiting until his 40s to have kids so he was able to complete an undergraduate and graduate degree and establish a career. It allows me to be a Sam if I choose to be. I feel like I got the best of both worlds. I got the carefree young life and I also later on got the family. I was much more settled, with a good career that has great benefits. When I had my first baby, I was 32. I knew how to do pesky things like shop around for a good OB, tour the hospital, research all the baby crap, etc. I was a whole person with a set personality when I had her, so I didn't disappear into motherhood. I also got my wild side worked out, lol. Had fun, traveled, all that good stuff. We are going to start trying next year when we are both in our early 30s. I think it's great timing for us. We're still relatively young, but we've had a chance to establish our careers and get to the point where the idea of paying for childcare, etc. is within the realm of feasible for us. We have really enjoyed spending the second half of our 20s together, being able to travel together, and just have fun being adults without anyone else to care for. We feel like we're ready. I feel like if we had started earlier, we might have felt like we missed out on some of that time together. Mid-30s when I had kids. On the plus side, I was mature, financially stable and had a stable relationship. I was able to give my kids many things I couldn't have done in my 20s. We've gone on some fancy vacations as a family. I'm secure my career and I don't worry about taking time off for kid-related activities. The downside, I'm 48 now and my kids are teenagers. I hate the winter and I need a warm vacation, but the kids are in high school, too young to leave alone and too old to pull out of school. I'm a little envious of my friends whose kids are now adults. But there's pros and cons to both approaches and I have no regrets. So I was 30 and 35 and I would not have enjoyed kids in my 20s. At all. 1. As many others have pointed out, the financial difference from my 20s to 30s is significant. I also got to a more stable place in my career that allowed the flexibility I needed. Earlier on I was putting in my dues so that extra time you need wouldn't have been available. And 2, having kids is hard on you mentally and physically. I am way more confident, secure, and don't really give two shits about what others think. That was not true in my 20s. For example, if I had kids early and was done breastfeeding in my 20s, it would have been hard because your titties just don't look that good after. LOL. I would have been way more insecure about that then. But now it doesn't matter because I think I'm hotter now at my current age than I was 10 years ago. Probably not, but I feel that way. So just the overall confidence you gain with age really helps. My mentor at work had her kids at 38 and 41. There is no right age and no right time really. I was 32 when I had my daughter. I had a lot more patience than I would have in my 20s. I would have had more energy in my 20s. We had been married 8 years and we had saved enough money so that I could be a stay-at-home mom. I had my daughter at 23, I didn't find out I was pregnant until I was 23 weeks gone, I never got sick early on, never gained weight, my periods didn't stop, and then I started getting really sick and that's when I found out. I didn't feel ready at all, was not emotionally prepared, and really turned my life upside down, and I didn't feel like myself again for a long time. I really struggled. I had my son at 37, last year. This time round I feel so much better about becoming a mum to a baby again. I'm much more secure in myself, more financially stable, I'm just enjoying it so much more, and given the choice again I would want to wait until I was older to have had them both, but I wouldn't change either of them for the world. I own a big house, both me and my husband have developed our careers and we have money in savings. We both came from parents had had us young and struggled, so we wanted to have a solid foundation before starting. I had my first child at 34 and my second at 35. I attended graduate school, have a great, well-paying job, and was able to enjoy 5 fun-filled years of marriage with my husband. We prioritized activities and travel that would be difficult with small children, trekking in Patagonia, African safari, etc. From both a financial and emotional perspective, I'm glad I waited to have kids. I don't have any regrets and I'm able to provide opportunities for my children, great daycare, fun vacations, that I wouldn't have been able to do in my 20s. I'm 29 and will be in my 30s when I hopefully have kids. I haven't had the stability yet. This thread made me feel a little bit better as a 21-year-old who won't finish school until they're around 30. I'm 35 and have been trying for my first for 8 months with no luck. I know that doesn't seem like a long time, but it feels like I've waited too long and like I'm out of time. The stats on getting pregnant this late in life aren't good, sad face. My mom was 34 when she had me, and she was so grounded and responsible. She knew who she was, and I think that gave me a secure childhood. She'd done a lot of living, got it out of her system, and became a badass mom instead. Full-time job and an incredible mother. As opposed to having a kid in your early 20s, you kind of develop with the child. Which can have its benefits, just a different way of it, I suppose. I mean, a 23-year-old girl is a 23-year-old girl. They're obviously still figuring their life out too. My mum had my brother and I when she was 36/almost 37 and 38, and she said the biggest benefits were my parents' financial situation and their life experience. I traveled and did a lot of growing in my 20s. And I was homeless for some time. I'm now in my 30s and just bought my own home last year. I still don't have kids, but I feel like if I were to get pregnant, I am not fully capable of giving a baby and being confident in my ability to take care of them and provide a safe and stable home. I did not have this ability until a few years ago and am glad I wasn't struggling to raise a kid back then. Degrees completed, houses purchased, mind matured. At this point in life, I'm 30 and will continue to wait until 35-ish. I have complex PTSD from extensive childhood trauma and had a lot of healing to do first. I wanted to be certain I'm doing everything in my power to not continue the cycle of abuse, even if that means not having kids at all if I never feel it would be responsible to do so. Also gave me time to find the right partner. I am 30 now with no kids. My sister is 25 with 3 girls. I couldn't imagine that when I was 25. I barely wanted to get out of bed before 10 at that age. Even now, when I babysit them I get anxious and I can't wait for someone to relieve me of the duty. Although I'm not sure if I would feel this way about me own children. I will say that when I was that age I did not know how to express myself fully and I would not have made a good mom. Even though I do not know yet if I want to have children, I know that I would make a good mother because I have taken care of personal issue that may have caused some problems in a relationship as well as parenthood. As well I have done things that I would not have been able to do with children like live abroad, buy unnecessary things and move around freely. The way I think about it is I had time to be defined as myself and not go straight from child/daughter to mother/wife. Had my son at 32. We're more financially stable. We have enough saved up so I was able to quit my job to stay at home with my son. We've cut out some expenses but so far can make do on my husband's income. Understand that not everyone can do that and I'm blessed to be able to have that option. I'm also done with grad school so don't have to worry about that. Can't imagine taking care of a child and going to school at the same time. I had my son when I was 35. I would say that waiting worked well for me because I am able to focus on my career, focused on my relationship with my husband and do things together like travel, date nights etc. When I had my son my focus changed, I put my career on hold, so I am glad I waited because I already established my career, meaning I am already where I want to be so I am able to take a little break to focus on my child. I also don't need to worry financially. I also think I am more mature to handle motherhood. I didn't have my first kid until 32. It was definitely worth it to wait. I had an actual independent adulthood. I matured emotionally and mentally. I went to therapy and improved myself. I traveled a lot internationally. I got 2 degrees. My husband and I had reached a great point in our careers/earnings. We bought a house. We spent nearly a decade together as just the 2 of us. All of this was prior to the birth of our first. If I had to do it again, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm 30 and I had my daughter when I was 29. So not quite 30, but close enough. For me, it wasn't really possible to do in my 20s because I was a student the whole time and simply didn't have the means. I also got to travel and mature into the person I am today. It was definitely the right timing for me and my family, and everything was planned. Having said that, now that my daughter is here, I wish I had her earlier in my 20s. It's an irrational wish because it's completely impractical, but it makes me sad that if she also has her first kid at 30, I'll be 60 when I finally have grandchildren, and who knows if I'll live long enough to ever meet my great-grandchildren. Meanwhile, my daughter is currently staying with her great-grandmother, who is in her 70s and has the strength and energy to enjoy her money. Time to enjoy freedom as an adult without kids. Confirming the relationship is stable. Learned more about myself and shortcomings before becoming a mom. For most of my 20s I was all over the place. Didn't have a strong idea of who I was, didn't find the right career until I was in my mid-20s and needed to put time into developing in it. A lot of my relationships with family were toxic or unhelpful and I needed to put in boundaries. Basically all my energy had to go into caring for myself and building a strong relationship with my husband. Now I'm 32 and expecting my first baby. I didn't feel emotionally ready, but as my pregnancy has progressed I've realized that I am ready as I'll ever be. I'm a totally different person than 22-year-old me and much better able to be a mother. When I got divorced there were no children to worry about. Makes dating, cooking and cleaning easier. I can buy a lot of things for myself. I can watch whatever shows I want whenever I want. Had my first at 35, she's now 6, and my second at 37, he's now 3, and I am so glad I waited. The biggest benefits I see are financial security, relationship solidity. My husband and I had been married for 9 years before having our first, lack of regrets, because we did a ton together before we had kids, and patience/perspective. I really don't see many downsides. Maybe the lack of sleep would have been easier earlier, but it's only for a few years, whereas the other benefits I listed are good forever. I find that having my kids a little older really motivates me to stay active and healthy. I'm 27, but my husband and I are planning to start trying in a year or so and have our first around 30, he'll be 34. We are both very financially stable, own a home in the best part of town with the best schools. We've gotten to travel extensively and just enjoy having fun together. We've been together 9 years. We've always wanted children, but my husband grew up pretty poor, and didn't want that for our kids. I grew up wealthy and wanted my kids to have a similar upbringing. I also want to be a stay-at-home mom, and I am now established enough in my career to work from home part-time when we have a baby but still make a good salary. We have a lot of friends who already have 5 to 7-year-olds, but I'm really glad we're waiting. I don't think I would have been a good mom younger. I had a lot of maturing to do, but I'm finally getting to a place where I'm comfortable to not put myself first. I've never even imagined that I would want kids before I'm 30, and there are people out there who are waiting until they're 30s. I just had my dogther earlier this year at 32 and I don't feel like an older mom. My friends are all having kids now and we're all about the same age. I think people in general are having kids later now than they used to. For me, having the freedom to enjoy my 20s was essential, and now I can enjoy my dogther without having that feeling of missing out. Financially, I'm certainly in a much better place to support a child than in my 20s. I feel secure knowing I have my savings and income to pay the costs of a kid and start saving for his college fund. Emotionally, I'm more settled now. I know who I am and what I want. And I got out all my partying and messing around in my 20s, so I feel I'm at least a little more mature to have my kid now. Excuse me while I go play more video games before this kid pops out of me. I don't have kids yet, but I think one of the main benefits was not having FOMO of those typical experiences you have in your 20s that my friends who had kids didn't get. Not to say everyone is a FOMO type person, but I can be. I always wanted my college party years, plus a few years of living in the city, which just wouldn't be affordable or enjoyable with children. At least not in the shoebox apartments I chose, so I could spend what little money I had on entertainment and going out. I'm happy to have had those experiences because I always wanted them, but I'll be happy to move on to another phase in life without feeling like I missed out. Had my kids at 35 and 39. Benefited me as it allowed me to find the right partner. My career was established, so I've been able to take a part-time job and still earn good money. I've got lots of things out of my system, so I'm not sad about staying home or not traveling. However, I've got friends who had their kids way younger than me and they're thriving too. There is no such thing as the right age to have kids. Or the wrong age. We're all just doing our best with the hand that life's dealt us. Money. Kids at 34 and 38. Asterisk finished my PhD and got career started. Asterisk married the right guy, take 2. Asterisk got my mental health medication and skills sorted out. Asterisk became debt-free before first kid. Asterisk had a zillion adventures here and abroad before kids. It has been awesome. Best option for me. Almost 29 here. I will graduate medical school and go into residency in a little over a year. I knew I needed to wait to start a family until after I graduated because I would feel extremely guilty about either not spending time with my family or not studying. While I realize that residency isn't a great time for starting a family, I will have a little bit more stability than while in school and be earning salary. I'm 32 and pregnant with my first. I'll be 33 at birth. I'm incredibly happy I waited. I got to do so much, be married for 5 years and it just be us, buy our dream home. We enjoyed the hell out of our 20s. Music festivals, camping, trips abroad both solo and together. We could party when we wanted and then stay in cuddled and reading. We got to explore hobbies and adventure. Waiting was best for me and I feel I'll be a better mother for it. Just had a child at 30. I would say being financially secure was the biggest thing. We were able to move into a larger house that allow us ample space to grow as a family. Don't really have to worry about how we are going to financially swing having a baby. I'm 25 and can finish school debt-free because I'm able to work and save for it. I want to be able to give them a good life and set a positive example by being financially secure with a good job that having a college degree will give me. Pros of waiting to 35, I had my career off to a really good start before my first kid. I'm going to be honest, as strong as my company's leave policy is and how family-friendly they are, I think having kids really stalled out my career. I don't know if or when I will be able to move forward again and that is pretty demoralizing. Other pros are definitely having more time to be a married couple first, and money/space. Being able to afford a larger living space has been so helpful, especially during COVID. Cons: I'm old, it has been really hard to go without sleep, I'm not as spry when it comes to hopping up from playing on the floor. My body may never bounce back like it may have when I was younger. Oh, and the terror of infertility for over a year thinking I had left it too late and missed my chance. We were 28 when we had our first, but we got married young at 21 so we had been married a long time already, so there are some similarities. Biggest thing is being able to have a super solid relationship before bringing a baby into it. It tries your relationship like nothing else. But if you have a good foundation, it will be totally fine. Also, I'm so glad we traveled a lot in our 20s before having kids. We can't really do that as easily now. We got to establish ourselves in our careers before having bigger commitments at home. And the biggest thing which most people are mentioning is the money. We have a great nest egg and don't have to worry about finances like we would in our 20s. Which is huge because kids are expensive and stressful, and you don't need money problems on top of it. Since we got married young, people asked us constantly why we didn't have kids yet, and apart from it being rude, I'm glad I didn't listen to them because I'm very glad we waited. Work on myself. Well, I'm 26 with 0 kiddos at the moment. Assuming my boyfriend is who I'm going to get to spend my life with, I want to enjoy our 20s and grow together before we have any kiddos. My mom turned 39 the month after me, my grandma had kids in her 30s as well, and so has my sister with no issues. I have fewer worries about an older pregnancy than I do if I fell pregnant right now. Which would be a feat considering said boyfriend is halfway around the world. When we're ready, we'll try. Staying child-free until 30 enabled me to remain child-free at 40. While the bingos slowed down a bit at 40, I did get the last-ditch pitches from OBGYN and they especially know the unlikelihood. A woman child-free at 40 is 97% assured of remaining so. And this is how I've been able to get enough sleep and do what I want to do with my time. I had mine at 29, 34, and 35. I think I was at the perfect age. I had more patience, more if a homebody and ready to be a mom 24/7. I recall younger moms in the hospital not wanting to breastfeed because they wanted to go out. I was somewhat shocked, cause our babies were like 1 to 2 days old and they were already planning a break from them. I've held out having a kid for a while and now that I'm 30 I realize I actually don't really want kids. I had a fucking massive 20s. I had my child at 35. Safe pregnancy, normal recovery. Key benefits: already a boss so do not need to worry about impact to career, heaps of cash and no debt so I work part-time and my partner does not work at all. Downsides: nil. I've been chilling in my 30s for the past 2 years and I come to the realization that I really don't want to have children. One might say when I'm in a committed relationship I may have a change of heart. But I strongly doubt I would change my mind. This is a good post. I feel the pressure of having kids already when I don't want them and am not ready for them. I will most likely have kids in my 30s at this point. Didn't really plan on waiting to have a baby but had fertility issues. The upside was that we were able to afford IVF. The downside is now we have debt but a beautiful rambunctious toddler who I'm thankful for every day. I am 33 and waiting until around age 35 to have children. I have been married for 5 years and we have both decided that we wanted to accomplish personal and professional goals prior to having a child. I have been able to gain valuable work experience, experimented with different career options, earned undergraduate and graduate degrees. My husband has career and educational accomplishments as well. We were able to experience marriage without children and build our lives together. We purchased our first home and now, we feel that waiting to have children has allowed us to grow spiritually, emotionally, and financially. We feel like the growth we have experienced has better prepared us for parenthood. I know that we can never truly be prepared to bring a child into the world per se, but we feel better equipped to raise a child, especially compared to our 20s. Haven't had kids yet and still am not decided. But I'm using this time to work on my communication skills and mental health and just set up a life so I don't have to be so stressed hopefully when I do decide what I want. I want my kid to have stability and I know if I didn't wait they would have had to be homeless with me. I will do everything in my power to stop that possibility and if that means not having a kid that's okay too. I'm thankful I haven't jumped into having kids like some friends I have where they are struggling, stressed, and regret having their kids. And no kid deserves to feel that. My mom had me when she was only 22, I'm the oldest of my siblings. Just turned 24. She's not a bad mother at all, but I think things would look and feel very different if she waited until she and my dad were settled to have me and my siblings. I think that the major benefit will be having things already figured out, therefore dealing with a lot less stress. I am in bed, stoned AF, hanging out with my 2 excellent cats, not cleaning up anyone's mess but my own. I can go to sleep whenever I want. No one is crying for snacks. Just my little kitty cat staring at the Christmas tree. I think the mental health benefits of this situation are clear LOL. I'm in my late 30s and we are finally at a point we might be able to afford somewhere with 2 bedrooms. We still can't afford childcare locally. The cheapest one we can find is $1,600 a month although the decent ones are $1,800. My friends who are local can only afford it with credit cards, loans, and family assistance. I don't think we'd have been mentally ready or mature enough in our 20s, but financially it's hard. My mom was 34 when she had me and I had a really grounded childhood. She seemed like she knew exactly what she was doing even after immigrating to a new country, and there was never a moment where I felt insecure due to family matters. We were financially secure. My mom was Sam since we could afford it. She made nutritious food every day. She had her own hobbies and had high self-worth, and it really showed me what a grounded woman she was. Unfortunately, I can't ask her anything since she passed before I was even 18. Sad face. 20 years ago I was not a very nice person, and I'm glad to have left that behind me. I'm more mature and certainly more capable of being a good parent when my daughter was born 6 years ago. Now we have another baby on the way, July, and while we don't have much income, we do have a good house and a happy relationship and family. Since we're in Ireland, we have it much easier than many other countries, and this is a blessing too. Now that Liv started my own business, I've taken stock of myself and discovered that I'm actually not as useless as I originally thought. That is a good thing to discover. It's given me peace of mind and time to decide if we want children. I spent half my life raising my little brother while our mother worked. I've tasted motherhood and it's hard. I don't want to bring a child into the world if I don't have time, or if we aren't 100% sure it would only supplement an already happy marriage. We want to be absolutely sure, and we don't care what other people think. I have nothing holding me back from finishing school and starting a career, doing what I want, falling in love, traveling, spending money. Basically, I can do things without worrying about how it would affect a child at this point in time. Simple, we get the best of both lives, so in the end we've missed nothing and accomplished the greatest of things. F/31. My husband, mid-30s, graduated law school a few years ago, and I am now a nurse practitioner. We have started a comfortable nest egg. We own a home in a safe neighborhood with some of the best schools in our state. We both have great insurance matching 401k. We were able to buy everything we wanted for our baby and put money away for private education. 9 years ago we were in a one-room apartment in an area with lots of crime/blight. We both came from poor families, so we would have received little to no financial support from our families. We decided we wanted a family, so we hustled through school and both worked 2 jobs. We built our credit and made difficult decisions. Now we are trying for baby number 2 and life is great. 100% worth waiting. Kind of the opposite here. I had my only one at 22. And I'll never have another. I'm 29 now and I absolutely cannot imagine having more the older I get. I'll be 40 when she graduates high school. I'm in my mid-20s and waiting. Honestly don't know if I even want children. But not deciding that now, waiting until my 30s to decide. I want to spend my 20s and even early 30s focusing on me, living my life to the fullest, so when and if I decide to have kids, I won't regret the things I didn't get to do and can shift into the next phase of my life. I also am nowhere near financially or emotionally ready for that kind of responsibility. And right now I want to be commitmentless. I'm 22, my IUD will last 8 more years and I'm waiting that full time to get pregnant. So far I have money for takeout and I can go to sleep whenever the fuck I want to. It's working out pretty good. 29 and don't have any yet. Saving money and enjoying leisure time when I'm not working. I regretted not having kids in my 20s. I'm in my 30s now and I've had to have cancer treatment that has meant that I'm now likely infertile. If I'd done it in my 20s I wouldn't be in this situation now. I'm 27, I went through a breakup over the summer and I'm now with someone who wants a life partner/marriage/kids, just like me. I couldn't imagine having kids with the guys I was with/talked to in my younger 20s. It simply would have been a horrible mistake and I'm still growing so much mentally/emotionally. I think 35 is considered a geriatric pregnancy. After 35 fertility greatly declines for many, disappears for some. My son was a preemie and had to spend time in the NICU, most of the babies had older moms. I discovered I could only have one baby after my son was born, so just by luck, I managed to have one. It's possible that if I'd left it later, I was almost 30, there may have been more complications and he wouldn't exist at all, who knows. I never ever had a problem getting pregnant. So I'd say if you leave it to the last minute you may or may not be limited in your options. If you have a kid very late in life you may not live to see them grow up or may be impaired by serious health issues, it's all a bit of luck, genetics etc. Lots more savings now. Gotta get that compound interest, baby.